In this video, we're going to be modifying the blend we created earlier. This part of the lesson starts on page 292, and we have this shape here that we're going to turn into a series of shapes to make it look like water. So we're still working on the water layer, picking up where we left off. Get your selection tool and we're going to select the blend object. For this next step to work, we're going to have to tell this that we want it to be expanded. When we expand this, it's going to divide it into blend objects into distinct objects, so we'll be able to make a blend from those as well. So from the object menu, go down to blend and choose expand. Now you're going to see that there are anchor points on every one of those circles. It almost looks like a spider design because of the way the anchor points are lining up. And originally objects, they're grouped by default, and we can now no longer edit this as a blend object. Now, we want to see the entire artboard bottom down here, so if you're not at this view, you may need to zoom in or zoom out using either Command minus or Control minus or Command plus or Control plus till your screen is about this size here. I'm moving my layer palettes out of the way here so I have room to work. So we're going to be working right across the bottom of the artboard here. Pick up this object here, this grouping of objects, and we're going to carry it over to the left so it's just off the artboard, kind of like that. And I want it to be just a little bit higher too as well. That we're going to make a total of 3 rows of this shape, and we're going to do that by blending this object into a copy of itself. So I'm going to hold my mouse button down, then my Alt or my Option key down, and drag over to the right. If you press the Shift key as well, it'll keep it directly in line with the previous object. Then release my mouse button before the 2 other keys. Now that I have that in position, I want to create a blend between those of 16 steps. So I'm going to go to my blend tool and double click on the blend tool, set the specified number of steps to 16, and then click OK. And now I'm going to go to my object on the left, go to the center of that object over there, and click on the object when my mouse has the asterisk under it, and then go over to the other end and click again, and I have a series of these objects going across from the left to the right. Now we're going to make modifications to this so it doesn't look like a straight line. So let's go to the View menu, go down to Outline, and we're going to deselect what we have selected right now by going to Select and choose Deselect. Turning on to page 293, we're going to get our Direct Selection tool, and we're going to click on the path which is between these 2 groups here. It's going to be hard to notice when you click on it. You really have to look at the left end and the right end to see a tiny little green dot in there. Otherwise you won't know. If I come down here and click off of it, you can see the green is going off. If I click on it again, that green is indicating that that path itself is selected. Now that I've got the path selected, I'm going to go to the Object menu, go down to Path, and tell it that I want to add anchor points. Each time you add anchor points, it takes your path and splits it in 2 and puts it a new anchor point in the middle. Now I want more than this, so I'm going to go to Object again, go to Path again, and tell it to add anchor points. And this time it's going to put one between the new anchor point in between the left half of that line and the right half of that line. So each time you add anchor points, it adds a new anchor point in between the 2 anchor points that are already there. So that's what I want to work with at this point. And now I'm going to bend this path so it's not shaped straight, so it's a curved shape. And so to do that, I want to find my pen tool in the toolbox. With my pen tool in the toolbox, you have to use the modifier key of the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key for Windows. Pressing that key down, I'm going to take my mouse up close. Now watch for the right symbol. It has to turn into a black arrowhead with a curved line under it. And you may find you're getting a different symbol. You'll have to just move your mouse around until you get that symbol. And then I'm going to grab and slide up a small amount, and that's going to cause that part of the path to curve up. Now I've released my fingers off the mouse and off the keyboard key, and I want to move down between the next 2 anchor points. Again, they're a little bit hard to see here because they're the green color. I'm going to come here, hold my Alt key down again, when I get close enough to the path that I see the curving arrow underneath the arrowhead, this one I'm going to bend down a little bit. Then I'm going to move over further, again with my Alt key or Option key pressed down. I'm going to bend this one up, and then come in here and go down to the far end, do the same thing again, bend this one down. I'm going to bend this one way down because I want to show you how you can make a correction if you overdo it. We're going to go back to the View menu and do a preview, see what it looks like. And I think I've got one of the curves a little too tall, one curve a little too low. You can reshape this right in this view. You don't have to stay in the outline view. I'm going to get my direct selection tool, and I need to notice where the green spine path is. And when I get it right on the path, I have that indicator again on my mouse that it will let me modify the curve. I'm going to pull that curve up a little. I'm going to come over to this one, pull this curve down a little bit. Now it is easier to work in the other view. So you could do it in that view as well. But again, if you're going to do it here, you want to, if you're using the pen tool, you will need to hold the Alt or the Option key down, or you can use the Direct Select tool to do your modification there. And with the Direct Select tool, just watch that your mouse looks like the right shape. And so now I'm back in the preview mode here, and I'm going to save my work at this point with the Command S. And then to finish this up, we're going to go ahead and stay with the same video to do the last bit of work to this, which is going to be to make some copies of this. First of all, that whale tail is in the wrong position. I need to have that be behind this artwork. So this new artwork, this wave shape, I'm going to get my regular selection tool and click on the path so the whole thing is selected all the way from the left end to the right, and then I'm going to bring that to the front. To do that, I want to go to the Object menu, go to Arrange, and choose Bring to Front. It now looks like the whale's tail is behind it. If I'd like to see that whale tail a little bit better, I'm just going to move it down a little bit. I'm using my down arrow key on my keyboard just to move that down a small amount. So this bit of the water is coming in front of the whale tail. Now I'm going to duplicate this whole path of this blend here by holding my mouse button down. I have the regular selection tool, hold my mouse button down, and my, let me state that over again. Lift all fingers up, hold my Option key down, then my mouse button down, and I'm going to move it up and slightly to the right so it's positioned about like that. Whoops, I zoomed in at the same time. I'm going to zoom out with Command or Control minus sign. Now it looks like my whale tail has disappeared, but it's behind this artwork. So I'm going to select this artwork and go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. It's going to go to the bottom of this layer. Now the whale tail is showing again. And then I'm going to select the same artwork that's selected now, grab it, hold Option down, grab it, pull it down and to the left a little bit. I'm going to go below the first one this time. So now I have 3 rows of this. This row needs to come to the front. Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So each set of curves of the wave is moving back further. I think I would like this a little better if my middle row was a little lower, and sometimes it's hard to work from this view, but if I go to the view of the outline view, I can see my 3 paths there, and I'm going to select my middle one and just use my arrow keys on my keyboard to move it down a little and to the left a little, and then I'll go to my last one, move it down a little and to the left a little. And this is really a matter of taste of where you want it positioned. Noticing at the front of the book on page 273, you get an idea of how they have positioned theirs in the front of that chapter. I want to go back to the View menu and see what it's looking like at this point. Okay, and the final thing they want to teach us on this little lesson here is click on nothing or go to Select and choose Deselect, and then go click on the last right object shape that you have there, and we're going to double click on that to enter the isolation mode so that we can work with just that one. And now we're going to grab that object and pull it up and to the right a little bit. And what they want us to notice here is it simply takes those 16 shapes you had in between there and spreads those out further. If I were to move it all the way over like this, it just puts more and more space in between them. I don't want it that far, so I'm going to undo that last step with a Control Z. So I want to now hit my Escape key on the keyboard. I'm back out of the isolation mode, I'm back into the normal mode, and just make sure that you don't have any blue spaces covering this, showing through this pattern here, that this 3-line blend path, those 3 paths, are pretty well covering the bottom of the screen, and they're extending off the edges so we don't have any blue gaps showing there. And so we're going to do a save, and we're going to stop the video at this point.